Hello, 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 everybody, and welcome. Here we are, SATURDNY night. Diane totally remembers that song, so do I.
I do.
We are of that age, but we are now on Saturday night live on YouTube, Facebook, and hello, Instagram. Thank you,
Hi,
Massage Sarah. Thanks for being on here. And everyone else, thank you so much for being here. So glad to have you. I was so excited about talking to you because everybody doesn't see the person behind the magic of mindbodyspirit.fm. And I'm like, whoop, whoop. It's exciting. So let me say hello to everybody and then we'll get started in a minute.
Wow, look at all the people.
I know. Hello, Ellen.
This is great.
Jean, hello. Lisbeth, good to see you. Rose, hello. Delora, hello, Delora. And Carson, thank you for being here. Isabel, hello. And Vicky, hello. And Joy, thank you for being here. Again, Massage Sarah, hello. And Isabel says, wee! I know. It's exciting. It's exciting. Here's the thing, guys. Some of you need to tell people that we switch from Wednesday to Saturday because here's the thing. On Saturday, it's fall. It's going to be winter. We're going to be in a little bit more. So that's why we're doing it Saturday night. And on Wednesday, it was great for the spring and summer because you're out during the weekend. So it's all good. And we're live. Yes. And we're live. I know. It's exciting. It's
very exciting.
As people come on in, welcome. Thanks for being here. So without further ado, I'm so excited to have Diane Ray here. She is the co-founder and of mindbodyspirit.fm, and it is a podcast network. You have over 60 people on the network. I think that's 60. Phenomenal. I think it's
Thank you. 60 podcasters, and we like clawed, each one by one, just kind of building, and hopefully many more to come.
Tell people a little bit about where you came from. I know, but I don't want them to know.
The origin story. Okay. Yes, I'll do it quickly. Well, my background is in radio and terrestrial radio, and I'm from Miami, Fort Lauderdale area. So I was on the air there in my hometown, which was a lot of fun. Then I came out to California. I'm in San Diego, and I worked in radio here at KGB and also at the NPR station here at KPBS. And then I was looking, for a full-time job, and I saw an ad that said Hay House Radio. I'm like, ooh, what's this? Because I was familiar with Hay House, and I had the self-help section of books at home, and I loved Wayne Dyer and Louise Hay. And it was just such a fortuitous timing that I was able to come over there to Hay House Radio, and I worked with Summer McStravick, and she was just launching the network at that time. So I spent 11 years at Hay House, met amazing people, grew, morphed, and changed, learned so much from all of the teachers there. And then in 2017, I went to Unity, and I worked for the wonderful Unity organization for a few years there, helping to build Unity Online Radio. And then in that process, I met my wonderful business partner, Tina Williamson, and we both kind of had the same idea. We're like, there's some teachers that we can't really fit on Unity, but they have such a great message. And so kind of on a parallel path, we started building mindbodyspirit.fm, the podcast network. And I don't know, the crazy ideas, like, wow, would I do it again? Probably. It's been a crazy journey. So Tina and I have been building this platform, and we really want to be able to offer content for people wherever they're at, whether they're into angels or mediumship or alternative health and wellness, mental health, just things that can help people, because I think we really need it right now. Totally. So that's why we were so happy to work with you and bring on your show and help you get launched. And we want to find more and more teachers like you.
Thank you. And Isabel said, I remember when you started. I love that. That's awesome.
Thank you, everybody. We all have to start, just start the little seed, and it can grow. And it's amazing to see how it's grown so far.
And you have that, Diane. You have just your like, I've listened to your podcast, and you.
Thank you.
you have this ability to make everybody comfortable. You ask amazing questions, and you are really invested in everybody that you speak with. And that's why I was so excited to be part of Mind, Body, Spirit, because it really is this network of fascinating people. I mean, like you said, you've got Radley Valentine, you've got Stephen Farmer, you've got some amazing big shot people that are part of the podcasts. And of course, my friend, and I love her dearly, you've got Laura Worcester.
Laura Worcester.
I love
You
Laura
have to say Worcester.
Worcester. I know. It's my Chicago accent was like Worcester. You're not saying it right. I'm like,
she'll say no,
Worcester. And I was like, okay, I got it. Like Dolores said, plus woot woot to the Worcester podcast.
Yes.
Thank you.
And it's been so cool with Laura to see. So John Holland, who Laura works with, and I work with John, who's an incredible medium, one of the best. I mean, I've watched him live when we did big events at Hay House, and I've worked with him, and John's like, you got to bring Laura on. She's coming up, she's coming into her own as her own teacher. And she's been incredible and just so fun to work with, and just a gentle soul, in the way that she teaches and gives people messages and makes those connections. And you can tell that she really loves it.
She does.
So it's been great to see her grow and kind of spread her wings as her own teacher, as well as working with John.
Right. She's amazing. And like you said, just a gentle soul, a really good heart. Mm-hmm. And you can tell the integrity and the ethics behind everything that she does. She's just an amazing woman. Let me just quickly say hello, Miranda and Irma. Irma, so good to see you, my friend. Long time no see. Joe, hello. Thank you for being here. Appreciate you being here.
Look at all these great people. This is so fun.
It is a lot of fun. It is a lot. And I really think it's important on my lives. I love to say hello to people because I think it's really great. Brianna, I didn't say hello to you, and Karen, I didn't say hello to you, but I'm saying hello now. And great question. Look, you got a question already, Diane.
Here's a question.
What's the process of becoming a guest speaker on Mind, Body, Spirit?
A guest speaker to guest on other podcasts, because that can happen. And also, we welcome people to, contact us, info@mindbodyspirit.fm. If you're interested in starting your own podcast in this space, mind and body and spirit. If you're a teacher in that realm and you would like to start a podcast, we do have packages for people, beginners, people that are a little more experienced. We try to meet people where they're at in their skill set, and, we can make those connections. So yeah, if you're interested. Or even start your own. Yes.
Yeah. Laura, can you type that in? It's info@mindbodyspirit.fm, and just contact, and that's it. So Miranda, if you're interested, contact them. And thank you, Delora.
Thank you.
Info@mindbodyspirit.fm. And
we'd be happy to connect with you and talk with you. We can help you with all the ins and outs, because it can be daunting, right? I mean, you know how it is.
I was like,
we want to make it fun.
But it was exciting at the same time. I mean, I didn't realize how many people I could get and how many interesting, fascinating guests that I've had here on the live. And I'm like, well, why don't we just cross over on the podcast? And then we did that. More people started coming up. I'm like, what about this? And what about this topic? And I never thought about this. And it just seemed to grow. So I'm really blessed to have some amazing people. And what I did, and those of you that are interested, make a list of the people that you'd like to talk to, that you believe your audience would really be fascinated by. Who are you fascinated by? Even if it's someone like, let's just say, like a John Holland. You're like, oh my God, I would love to have John Holland on my podcast. John, if you were listening.
It could happen, yeah.
But think about that. Think about how you can have individuals, and who it might not be John Holland, but who else could it be? Who else could it be?
So
Karen.
many people have stories.
Yes. Karen says, what years were you at WBEZ and Unity?
WBEZ. Well, I was never at a station WBEZ. I was at Unity from 2017 to like 2022, and then Tina and I just kind of went on our own. I'm wondering, what call letters are you thinking of? Because I was at, there's been many call letters in the resume. I was at KPBS here in San Diego, which is just the NPR affiliate. But I also worked at KGB, and that was in 2002 or 2003, the early aughts.
Yes,
was the KGB years here in San Diego. Amazing station. So the truth is, okay, I've been outed. I'm really a rock DJ, an old rock DJ.
Do you know what I do? Like sometimes when I'm like, oh, I'm on TikTok and I'm doing some videos and I'm doing lives, I will go ahead and play music, because music, as you know, lifts our endorphins, and then as our endorphins are lifted, it opens up our spiritual connection. So I'll play a guessing game where I'll play like some old tunes, and they have to guess, and the first person that gets the song right gets a card. So I love doing that kind of stuff.
We could do Name That Tune. I love that.
Dolores says, do you have an NPR voice? Such fun.
I could say, let me see. How did it used to be? Oh, support for listeners like you comes from the W.K. Kellogg Foundation. We had to read funders on KPBS. Support for KPBS comes from listeners like you and the W.K. Kellogg Foundation from Vision something. I mean, it was different funders like that you had to read. And it was funny for me because I was coming from a rock station, and then I was reading, the Art Guild.
I like
stuff like that.
I like it. Hey, Cat and Self Love Seeker. Hello. And Danielle.
Hello, everybody.
See you. Thanks for being
here. What a great group you have. Community. I love community.
Thank you. And Kiana, thank you for joining on Instagram. I appreciate that. So here's our question. Transformation through podcasts. I mean, people are listening. People are wanting to grow, and they're might be not able to go to an event every single time, but they're listening to people talking all the time. How do you see the impact on podcasts in today's world?
Well, podcasting has just exploded and grown over the past few years. It's kind of like the Wild West. Like, we really don't know how it's going to end up, what's going to be happening in the next few years. But what I love about podcasting is that it's so available. It's so inclusive, because really anybody can start a podcast. I mean, you get yourself one of these and, figure out what you're doing. I mean, the entry point is very easy. It's not really expensive. You can get started very cheaply. And then you just kind of, figure out what your message is, what you want to do. But it's such a great medium, because you're really getting people, you're in their ears. You become a friend, someone that they feel that they can rely on. And it's just a great way to market. It's a great way to get your message out there, to create community, to reach other people. I mean, what I love about our network is, like, you've made a great connection with Laura Wista. Now you guys are kind of cross promoting and cross marketing and sharing your message to her crowd, and vice versa. So a lot of people on the network reach out and work together with other people. So I think podcasting can be transformative in putting the power in your hands, giving you the freedom to share your voice and your message to people all over the world. I mean, What's cool is looking at I don't know if you ever look at your stats, Elias, but you might see you've got listeners in the Netherlands or Samoa, at some crazy island in the middle of nowhere. Like, the internet has made the world a little smaller, and we're able to reach out and have these amazing connections.
True. And that would be me, guys, having just strangers from a tiny island. There are like, oh, let's listen to him. He's going to tell us the recipe of baklava.
Yes. But you never know who could find you. And that's what's so amazing.
Whispering Pirate, hello, thank you for joining, says it's important to the conversation to us as the printing press was to those who wanted to seed certain ideas into the masses. Yes, very, very true. And so what do you think, Diane, is the next step? Because we've talked about it, but I think like the video podcasting and how that's going to change, and people want to see facial expressions. They want to hear more than just the inflection. Wouldn't you?
Yes. Well, we're definitely leaning into video on our network. We're already, posting some videos on Spotify. Apple is going to start doing video podcasting very soon. It could be any day, and of course there's people doing video podcasting on YouTube. So I think it's really going to be, rather than calling yourself just a podcaster, you're a content creator. You're creating content for people to consume wherever they want to consume it. So if someone cannot watch a video, then they're going to grab your podcast and walk the dog or clean the house, things that you normally do, driving the car, that kind of thing. So I think it's going to be, people are going to offer both, video and audio. Or what a lot of people do, will have video promos to drive people to get the full download of their podcast. Kind of cross promote between those and see what works best. Some people, totally hate video and they might never do it. But I think that it's just kind of going to be giving people the information and the programming where they want to see it. And like with streaming TV becoming so normalized, like nobody really watches things live. Like, back in our day, the Waltons was on Thursdays at 7, right, or The Wonderful World of Disney, things like that. When I was a kid, Saturday Night Live, I mean, you had to be there. Now it can be wherever you want it, whenever you want it. And people like that on demand capability. So I think that's going to continue to be the norm.
So true. So true. And here's something that popped up that I wanted to ask. What do you think, in your opinion, makes a really good content creator? How would you say, like, what captures you, and what do you think captures the audience?
Wow, that's a great question. Cats. No, I'm kidding. I mean, if you saw my Instagram saved things, most of it is cat reels.
See? Jenny just put little cat pictures.
Right? She knows what I'm talking about.
Right.
It can be. It pretty much runs the gamut. But I think people are looking for information, whether it's news.
Yes. Go ahead.
Dog videos.
Right.
People are getting news. They're getting information from podcasters. Wow. I mean, but for me, like what I like to listen to, I mean, great teachers, like yourself, people in the spiritual realm. I also love, true crime, The Daily Show, deep, investigative kind of reporting stuff. That's really interesting. I'm a big Fresh Air fan, from my NPR days. So I love all of that in This American Life. I like stories. And I think storytelling is really kind of the common thread. A great story will grab me every time and will make me sit and listen.
And that's how I am too. Like I love, during COVID, when I was doing all this, one-on-one with people, and we had so many people watching during COVID, and we really got into our stories. We got into our hearts. We were very vulnerable. I mean, I still am on live. I think that is something that I want to keep, really being real with people. And I think with the podcast, I think people can tell, you can feel a good speaker. You can feel a good content creator in their voice. You can hear it. You can hear their heart. And that always grabs me. I like someone that's going to grab my heartstrings and then make me want to go, I never thought of that. Or, wow, I want to know more. I always want to leave knowing more.
Right. It makes you think, something that'll stick with you for a little while after you're done listening to it. Or there's been podcasts, that I've followed where if that thing didn't post the day it was supposed to, I'm like, where's my next episode?
Right.
Like, I want to hear what else. I want to hear what happened, because there's so many great storytellers out there. There's a company called Wondery, and they do a lot of great, storytelling podcasts there. So I love autobiographies, biographies. I mean, when newspapers were around, I don't know if anyone remembers newspapers. Like, I would love to read the obituaries because I love the stories of people's lives. I was interested. So, yeah.
My dad used to do the same thing. It was always like,
who died?
Right, let me see the obits. I'm like, okay. Delora has a question. Do you have less regulation in content than YouTube?
Less regulation on content. You mean on the podcast network itself? I could answer that. I mean, what Tina and I like to say is we're not the quote content police. I mean, there's no way I can possibly monitor and listen to 65 podcasters' shows. But what we do in the beginning is that we have Zooms of people. We talk to them. We go, look, this is what we're about. So we kind of feel each other out and see if we're a good fit. And some people we haven't been for whatever reason, they wanted to do a different thing, or maybe they didn't want ads in their show or something like that, because we are ad supported. So there really isn't, I guess, regulation in the sense podcasting is so free. I mean, in radio, if you made a mistake and dropped an F-bomb or something, I mean, the station would be fined, thousands of dollars. Right. And in podcasting, there really isn't any of those restrictions. So I'd have to say, I would say we probably have a little less regulation than YouTube, because YouTube can be pretty, they'll shut you down for different things. I mean, one thing we do ask people when we talk to them to come on the network, we're like, look, we don't want hate speech. We don't want conspiracy theories. We're not about that. We're about trying to help people with, in a loving way, giving them teachings that are going to support them. And so we don't want fear, hate mongering, hate speech, that kind of thing. So we kind of feel people out in that way.
That's important. That's really important.
I think so.
Delora says, I do fancy myself as a storyteller. Can I call mine? But I digress. Yes. But and Delora,
you can, yes.
She is a great storyteller. And actually, Delora she's a color inspirationalist. So she did training with Dougal Fraser with his color class. And she's now teaching. She's teaching a class based on the autumn fall colors and the vibration, what that means. Delora, that could be a thing that you might want to talk. You might
think it over.
Diane and Tina and see. Amanda says, a great warm voice, which you definitely have, Elias. Thank you very much. Thank you. I love podcasts. I listen to them at work. Thanks, Diane. Good to see you.
That is nice to hear. Check out some of the podcasts on the network. I mean, that's how I listened. I mean, kind of how I started getting into podcasts was I had this, when I was working at Hay House, I had this monster commute that was like, almost an hour, 55 minutes. It could be longer than that in traffic. If anyone's driven in Southern California, they can relate to this because it's awful. So that's how I started listening to news magazines and podcasts, and I just was hooked.
Yeah, and
I've gotten to the stories.
I enjoy it as well. I really do, because sometimes when I lived in Chicago, I was always listening to the radio because either I would talk to myself or get some great ideas. I'm like, oh my God, maybe I could do this, maybe I could do that. And then when I wanted to quiet the mind, I'm like, let someone else talk. Let me hear them.
There's some great meditation podcasts out there too. I like to do that.
Me too. Dee Singh, hello. And Marmo, good to see you all the way from Florida.
Florida, my home state.
Florida.
Florida. I am from Florida.
Whispering Pirate says, I think it's important to find people we trust to assist in sorting the wheat from the chaff, for what we know. Yes, very true. Very true. Maybe next year after the card. All right. And I'm telling you, mind, body, spirit, FM is growing, guys. It's growing really, I mean,
Very
truly,
fast.
very, very
We
fast.
brought on just at the end of like August, September, we brought on, I think, 4 or 5, new hosts. It's kind of like it's cyclical, I think, because some people will shuffle off. Most people have stayed. I mean, when I left Unity and I was working with Unity Online Radio, and then they decided to just cease broadcasting kind of after COVID, and it was just a decision that the organization made. But 18 of the people that I was working with there wanted to continue their shows, and they wanted to do a podcast. So those people came on, and the majority are still continuing to do it.
One of the people that was in my speaker program was Celebrate Your Life, Cynthia Ocelli.
Yes.
I love Cynthia, and she's got such a great voice. She really does. And what a
beautiful person inside and out. She's just gorgeous.
I miss her. I haven't talked to her in a while, but she's really good. Do you know that if I didn't move to Washington, my other spot to move to was San Diego. I love the Gaslamp District.
Yeah.
And there's a great store there. It is the southern something store, imports something in South Imports. It's just an amazing store.
You have to come in and do some shopping.
I will, because I love, and that was the first place that I had lobster tacos, was in San Diego. Oh my God, so good.
Great Mexican food.
Yes. Very good. Guys, do you have other questions for Diane? Anything you want to know about podcasting, or what it takes to start a podcast? I mean, guys, honestly, truly, my stuff that I bought for my podcast, I mean, I have the headset.
Got the headset.
I have the headset.
You can get started very cheaply. I mean, there's a whole setup on Amazon you can get. There you go. The good old Yeti. Yeah, you start with that one, and I still use the Yeti microphone, which is great. And then if you want to get, upgrade or get a better one, you can certainly do that. Yeah. As you go on, then you start to learn, what equipment you like better, or, like I just upgraded to a new camera because for the longest time I was just using the camera in my laptop. I thought, no, I better get a better one. And we were laughing about this, you and I. I'm like, who would have thought, like, now we're creating little TV studios in our spare rooms and having to learn this. So there is always a curve, and don't feel that it's overwhelming or too daunting for you to try. I mean, that's why we're here. My business partner and I, like, we help people all the way, start to finish.
And you guys are so really, truly so helpful, because I was clueless. Like, I have no idea what to do. Now I was like, oh, okay, this is easy. And at the beginning, because I did a couple just me, and I'm like, oh my gosh, I'm talking to myself. This is like, I'm not getting any feedback. I'm not getting any, because teaching all these years, I'm so used to that immediate back and forth piece. And I'm like, oh God, is this good? Do I need to pause here? Do I need to
it's kind of a weird, it can be solitary in a way if you're doing, that by yourself, or if you don't have a co-host, or if you're doing an interview-based show, that kind of thing. It does seem like you're talking into the void. But once you publish it and you get it out there, and then there's ways to have live interaction. Like, this is so fun for me because I miss the live radio days. Yes. And to be live with actually people there and interacting is really fun. It's gratifying to just see people's names kind of pop up. But yeah, I mean, I think people are very critical about their voices, or they'll think that they don't sound good. And you just have to try and see if it's something that you think that you'd like to do.
Right. Very true.
Give it a shot.
Yes, Laura, you are correct. It's the South American Imports. Yeah, it's a great store. It's a great store.
Rock shop. I have to check that out.
Oh, Diane, it's a great, like, it's really, I had some serious damage in that store when I came back I was still living in Chicago, but they've got some great deals. Delora wants to get into editing. Okay.
Into audio editing or video editing?
She probably wants to do both.
Either one, doing both.
Yeah. Mandy is also a podcaster.
The technology, the technology is always changing. I've had such a curve, and it's funny. Like if you talk to my husband, he would have laughed and it's like, "Oh, what do you know about computers? You're a Luddite. You don't know what you're doing." But you learn. I mean, you're always learning, and things are always changing. I mean, especially in the podcast industry, just things have changed over time. Even just like this past week, we're sunsetting a program called Chartable that we used to use like for ratings and stuff. I'm like, oh, now they're getting rid of that. I have to try something else. So things, you always have to kind of be on your toes, and things are always changing. So it keeps it exciting though. It kind of keeps your brain working, and you surprise yourself at what you can learn. I've found.
Yeah, totally. And
you think you can't, but you can. You really can.
Yeah, same here. Hi, Cindy. Thanks for being here. Yes, Dolores said she wants to do both. That's great.
And don't let the technology scare you. For editing, I do all my own editing for my podcast, and I'm so proud of myself because just recently I've learned how to like add music in, and I'm doing like intros. And before I was working with engineers, and I would just say, "Here, guys, you do this," but you surprise yourself and you figure out how to do it. It's not that difficult. So you can learn. Now, video editing, I do not know how to do. So that's something I might have to put my toe in the water. But even just this week, I had Elias help me with some Instagram Live, connection that I didn't know how to do because we just got StreamYard as a network. So, again, it's always something that's always going to change. Or if you have a teenager in the house or your son or kid, they know how to do all this stuff. Yeah. They're born with iPads, in their hands.
I have Greek sausage fingers. So when I press the button, it's like, oh my God, what did I just do? It gets a little high tech. Let's see. Karen says, how long is a typical podcast?
That is a good question too. We tell people like that are just starting, either newbies, like starting with us on the network. I generally say like kind of the sweet spot is, maybe 30, 40, 45 minutes, to start, because you want to give some people something that's kind of digestible. But also if you have a great guest and the conversation's riveting, go for 50 minutes, you can go for an hour. I mean, for me as a consumer, if something's more than an hour, I'll kind of tune out because I won't be able to generally sit there and listen for like a 2-hour show, or like Joe Rogan does 3 hours, but that's Joe and he can do it because people are listening. So I think to kind of keep it, maybe under an hour, 30 minutes is good for typical. But again, like there's no hard rules. There's like really no hard and fast rule.
And for everybody to know, we are going to be doing very, very soon, I'd like to do it next week actually, but we are going to do a live podcast. And what that means is that you guys have the opportunity to be in the audience. So I'll be talking about stuff and you can actually either pop on screen or not pop on screen because the podcast guys will, no one's going to see your face. But if I use the little video clip, then they will. But don't let that deter you. I'd love to have you guys come on and do a live podcast because I've watched, I've heard Laura do it. I actually was one of her guests on a live, and that was a lot of fun.
She does a great job. I called her, I listened to some of her show, and I thought, how is she doing this? Because it sounds great. And she's just doing it on Zoom. Mm-hmm. And she's getting really good quality. So you can do it using programs that you have. If you're comfortable with Zoom, you can tape that way, or you can use StreamYard like Elias is using tonight. But I think it's great you're having, a live studio audience.
I know, and I've done both. And really kudos to Tony because he does such a great job with editing and everything and makes me sound great.
Tony is our engineer.
He is.
We need help, and he's been great, wonderful.
He is phenomenal, and I've done both on Zoom and on StreamYard. So both work, you guys. Really, truly. Amanda says, can't wait to hear it. Awesome. It will be recorded. Yes, it will be recorded. And so it's a live recording. and it'll be great.
We were talking about that a little bit earlier, like the live versus the on demand, that kind of thing. And it's fun where you can have a live interaction like we're doing now. And then if someone can't make it, they're still going to be able to get the content and watch it later on their own schedule. So it's win-win.
And can you explain this? Because you explain it so well. On mindbodyspirit.fm, there's a little microphone, right? And they can pop in a question on that.
Yes. So that's on our free mobile app. So thanks for mentioning that, because everybody, if they're listening and they don't have the app, just go into your app store for Apple or Android and just get mindbodyspirit.fm, and you can find Elias and all of our podcasters. And there is a feature called Open Mic. And it's so funny because some people are very intimidated by this, some of the podcasters, and they're afraid to really open the door. But you can leave a message. It's basically like leaving a voicemail for the podcaster of your choice. And they can take that audio and incorporate it in their show, or just kind of reference and say, oh, hey, Jane from so-and-so called here and asked this question. So it's a great way to stay in touch and to leave feedback for people that, the podcasters that you like. So it's just a fun feature. Actually, the guy that helped us with the mobile app, it's based on radio stations or TV stations. So it was kind of developed for that and not really for a podcast. So we were his first podcast network on this particular app. So I think that's kind of what the Open Mic was for at first, was like contesting and stuff for the radio stations. But it's a great way to get in touch with the hosts.
I think it's great because I mention it every time, and I always want to mention it. So I have it written down. So when I read it, I'm like, all right, everybody, if you please join us. So it's not memorized.
And it's free.
It's free. So I love that interconnected kind of vibe that everybody gets. It's really, really, really important. Jamie, hello. Thank you for joining on Instagram. I appreciate it. Any other questions, guys, for Diane before we bid adieu? Anybody has any other questions? And guys, it really is. It's so much fun to do a podcast, to actually have things created. And I'll just tell you this, guys, down the road, there's going to be something special coming up. I am working on it. So it will be a little bit more video, and you guys will see that down the road. But we're creating. It's, I think 2025 is like this year and next year are big creating years. I just feel
I feel that too. I think next year is really going to be huge. I feel positive.
Yeah, me too.
And maybe you can help me with video, because this old radio gal, I'm afraid of video, but I'm trying to get more comfortable with it, and not be so worried about your hair and what you look like and your makeup and all of that stuff.
And that's something, my mom and dad would always be like, oh my God, why are you not wearing a shirt and tie? Why are you not doing this? I've been on podcasts with like t-shirts on and sweatshirt, and I just feel more relaxed, and the more real you are. I think that's really important. I think people nowadays really want to be with people that they're relatable, real, and they have compassion. I think that's what we're missing a little bit in this.
We are. Compassion, empathy.
Yep.
People do want to feel that. And you do come across as, so authentic, and I think that really comes through. And I've seen your TikToks too. Those are fun.
They are fun. They're fun. The lives, if they get me a little sassied up, the lives can get a little sassy, because it drives me nuts as a psychic medium when people are like, well, I get married. And I'm like, I don't know. Do you want to? I mean, it's
who used to do that I'll share a Hay House story. Like one of our hosts was Carolyn Mace, who's this amazing teacher. She wrote this huge bestseller, Anatomy of the Spirit. And that would drive her crazy. Like she did a radio show for a long time, and people would call and say, what's my life purpose, or, who's my husband, or whatever, like a question like that. how do I know what your life purpose is? You know, she would yell at people, and then people would get, oh my gosh, they'd feel so, you know, taken aback. And I would get phone calls like, Carolyn yelled at me. And it's like, no, she didn't really mean it. You know, she's trying to help. But it's funny. Yeah. You like, people they want you to tell them, you know, they want you, Elias, like, what's my life purpose? And how can you really do that? You're just kind of guiding people, right? I mean,
and that's what I tell them. I'm like, you know, this is really about what do you, I say, don't ask me the will question, because the will is up to you. You can ask me the how question, or maybe possibly the why, but the how is something I could help you with. The will is an action step that you have to do. And that's the important, it's the important piece.
And really touching in, you know, checking in with yourself, I guess. Like yes. Louise would say, she'd say, if you're going in the right direction, people come to you. Because I asked her, how did you start a company in your 60s? You know, like, I'm inching close to that time, and I'm exhausted all the time. And she would just say, you know, people, like, the more you go in the direction and you follow your heart, the more people will come to meet you at that point. So it worked for her.
Yeah, totally did. Who's one of your, and we'll bounce out after this, guys. So who is someone that was the most memorable for you that you've had either on a podcast or a radio show that just stood out for you?
Wow, there's many. Well, a couple, I'll share just a couple real quick. One, I was doing a live interview with a medium. Her name's Karen Noe. I don't know if you have heard of her. She's based out of New Jersey. And she wrote a book where she had connected with Dr. Wayne Dyer after his passing, and through his daughters, and she kind of shared the messages there. But anyway, she was a guest on my show, and we were taking a break because it was live, and she asked me if I had a light colored cat with blue eyes, and I said yes. And she goes, "Is his name George?" I'm like, "Yes." She goes, "Well, George sees your mother, and I just wanted to share that with you, that your mother is visiting you." And she gives me this whole message. And I was so freaked out. I'm like, how the heck did she know my cat's name was George? And then I raced back, like, to make sure I hadn't posted anything recently on Facebook that she could find, you know, because I'm always skeptical. But I just couldn't believe how accurate, you know, that she knew that I had this cat. And he was acting weird, you know, staring and kind of, you know, looking at something. And I'm like, Mom, you know, are you here? So that kind of flipped me out a little bit.
That's amazing, though.
It was a fun message. Just, yeah, some incredible people. And just, I think, really working with Dr. Dyer. Yeah. Like every Monday I got to just sit at the feet of the master and kind of listen to him and interact with people. And then also see how he would be outside of talking to people or being like Wayne Dyer. And then he would be funny and crack like dad jokes. And he had, I think, more of a sense of humor than people gave him credit for. You know, they knew him as this great author and spiritual teacher, but he was really a warm and funny guy.
And what I had the privilege of listening to him. I only saw him once, but just an amazing man, just and held the stage. And I always, in my new book, I actually have a quote of his in my new book. And
what's the quote? Can you share it?
Okay. Should I? Because we haven't launched it yet. So, but okay, I'll share it. I want to get it exact. So hang on, everybody. The quote that I use from Wayne Dyer is this. Okay, here it is. He's an inspiration, and I just had to put it in the book because it just, I don't know, it speaks volumes to me, and it is something that you know, do you ever hear a quote and you're just like, yes, that's it. That's the quote. That's the one that I wanted. And so it goes like this, guys. Hang on. I want to make sure that I don't.
I'm curious which one you'll pick.
Okay. Change the way you look at things, and the things you look at change.
That's a classic Wayne. Yes.
Yeah.
Because it's very true, isn't it?
It's so true.
Very simple and very true.
The one time I said it, I got it mixed up. I'm like, no, I don't want to misquote, Wayne. I don't want to misquote him, but just, the power of now, and just, there's some other books that, from different authors. I have them up here, and
You have the shelf of self-help.
I do. And
spiritual teacher books.
It's just amazing to, like, I'm always thinking, like, my parents are right behind me, looking over my shoulder. These amazing authors here are behind me. I'm inspired, and I just want to barking on the truth. I just want to go ahead and give that. Hold on one second.
I had to shut the door for cats coming in.
Yeah, mine get a little crazy, just a little bit. Well, Diane, I hope you come back. I'd love to have you come back. And
I would like that anytime.
And yes, she will. Thanks, Willow. Thank you.
I will.
And guys, please go to mindbodyspirit.fm. Check it
out.
There's amazing people on there barking on the truth again. And it's just a great group of people.
We don't have, we do have a great animal communicator show, and you might want to talk to those girls, and maybe you can find out what's going on. They can share what is your dog's name?
We have Willow and Harry.
Okay.
Willow, but one of the kids just got home, so that's why they're barking.
Oh, I see.
But guys,
mystery solved.
Yes. Say it again, please, Marma. What did you want to know? Let us know. And guys, those of you that are watching the replay, thank you so much. And yes, so guys, remember, we're here on Saturdays now, 5 p.m. Pacific, 8 o'clock Eastern. Our next guest, thank you, Delora. Our next guest is Laura Stasenus, transforming your story with the Akashic Records. And then the following, I want her to connect with you. Susan Owens, Transformation for 2025. Susan is a numerologist and psychic medium. And then also we have our last retreat of the year, guys, Manifesting Your Desires. It will be myself and Janet Zavala at Terra Muse in Mechanicsville, Iowa. And if you're really wanting something, you're like, I can't get to a retreat, I can't do this, but you can do something online. Come join us for Unlocking Your Past Lives workshop. What stories are hidden in your soul? It's a 3-week Zoom. You can register, go to my website, eliaspetros.com, look under events, and we're going to learn how you'll uncover your past lives and learn how to shift the influence that happens sometimes. It's that repeated pattern. We want to shift it. You will get a lot of ahas in these 3 classes. And if you can't make it, it's recorded, so you can watch it at your own leisure. And thanks, everybody. Thanks so much for being here. Remember, we are here to connect. And when we connect, we educate. And when we educate, we grow. There is unity in community. From our hearts to yours.
Thank you, Elias.
Everybody, thanks for being here. And we'll talk soon.